listening to The Review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Review. It's the Online Sports Guys College Football Podcast featuring us, the Online Sports Guys. We got a three-pack here so far. I believe Brother John Nelson will be joining us here during the show. He's got some obligations to take care of on the soccer side of the OSG Sports Network.
Coach got fired before this recording.
Yeah, different sport, so they get away with it.
Don't they
have
know
to
the
have-
rules? I have to have exported the edit and started the upload before someone's allowed to get canned.
Yeah, for those of you keeping track at home, we're now 4 for 4 in terms of talking about coaches getting fired and them actually getting fired within an
row.
hour. Within an hour or two of us actually talking about it. So we consider ourselves somewhat of the specter of doom. And that's okay. I'm good with that.
I'm dressing up as a Grim Reaper for our Halloween episode.
As we should. Speaking of the Grim Reaper, it was an interesting week for college football, guys, because we had a lot of top 10 teams that walked away with a big fat L after their names. Probably the best one to start off with would be the Friday night game where Miami hosted Louisville. And it did not go very well for the Hurricanes. Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions, including one very, very late in the game.
They're so much better than Ohio State.
Maybe not. Louisville jumping out to an early lead on the Hurricanes, and they hold on for a 24-21 win, knocking Miami out of that number 2 perch. Surprised at the outcome of this one, guys?
Well, Louisville starts with the L and Miami ended with the L. They deserved a lose. Did you see the stands?
No.
Nobody.
Yeah.
A team that high ranked with those few people in there, they deserve to lose.
Perfect.
Yeah, last
example.
week's show had it really pegged talking about this game. We had all 5 of us there talking about how on a Friday night, an hour from the campus, that the atmosphere there in Miramar wasn't going to be that helpful to Miami. And Louisville's good. Jeff Brom is.
Yeah. Louisville is very good. And yes, we did talk about how getting a bunch of college kids to go an hour away from campus to see a game on a Friday night in South Florida. Yeah, good luck with that. And it showed with the turnout. Louisville really just controlled the game on the ground, throwing the ball, defense. They hit everything they needed to. And don't be surprised to see the Cardinals compete for potentially an ACC title here, guys. You think that's coming?
Given the state of the conference, I don't see why not.
Completely in the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is that's more open than the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants it?
We've
You
got
take it.
one undefeated team in the ACC right now, and everybody else is nipping at their heels. And that one team, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who went on the road this week to Duke and ended up walking away with a 27-18 win. And that came on the heels of a 17-point fourth quarter for the Yellow Jackets, who aren't always winning pretty, but they're doing enough to win pretty much on a weekly basis.
That was a dangerous game. Duke does a lot on offense, and playing down there. They start out the game hot, march right down the field, and then as Duke has done this year, coughed up the ball at the 1 yard line, and Georgia Tech ran it back all the way. From that point on, had real tactical control of the game. Duke kept making all the mistakes, and Georgia Tech got their act together and pulled away late.
I like that scrappy team.
I do too. I think it's a team you're going to have to watch out for, and I would not be surprised to see them win the ACC and end up in the college football playoff. Haynes King, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in college football right now, guys. He didn't throw for a touchdown. He was 14 for 21, 205, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But he ran for 120 yards and a touchdown in a game.
That's a W.
That is production.
Can I throw in one more thing about the Friday night games real fast before we move on?
Absolutely.
Okay, in honor of what's gone on this past week, I've got my wife's Penn State coffee mug. And how's that relevant to last Friday night? That the Fighting Matt Rules of Nebraska, uh, you know, for all intents and purposes, now as head coach of Penn State, Matt Rule is 0-1 after going to Minneapolis and lose last Friday night.
Yeah, that's been a problem for Rule and for the Nebraska Cornhuskers over the last few years. They kind of tantalize you a little bit and look like they could be a team that could be dangerous, and then all of a sudden they basically lay down a stinker, and they laid down a stinker here, just barely getting 2 field goals.
If that's your answer at Penn State, then I think that's a bad omen. The week of the James Franklin firing.
Is he going to take the Patrick Mahomes cosplayer with him if he takes that job?
He might.
I don't think the uniform looks enough like the Kansas City Chiefs for him to continue his cosplaying. So I don't know if he'd go.
A lot to play out in that situation.
That cosplayer that Marty's talking about is, of course, Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, who he's been on a couple of different rosters already, let's just say, in his college career.
I think it was 5 commitments he had prior to starting college.
You get a commitment, and you get a commitment, and you get a commitment.
That's more than Randy Moss.
I like Randy Moss.
Yeah. I think we might be talking about 2 different levels worth of player there.
One had the talent to back it up.
Raiola got sacked in that game. Not once, not twice. Got sacked 9 times.
Oh my God.
How do you not find linemen in Nebraska?
Yeah.
Literally everybody is corn fed. How do you not get 5 huge guys for that? Unbelievable.
Sorry, I derailed the show. Sorry, continue on, Phil. My apologies.
We're about the derailments.
Yeah.
Want to make a special mention of one other game on Friday night. The Fighting Belichick's traveling out to play California in the Golden State. They lost again, 21-18, but they did call it a mental victory.
Okay.
Well, game didn't go great, but his girlfriend dressed nice. There's that.
Rumors are that he started to move things out of his house in Chapel Hill, so we'll see how that develops.
Yes, indeed. Moving on to some of your top teams, Ohio State cruised 34-0 against Wisconsin, a team that is, to say that they're struggling probably would be being kind to the word struggle. They're 2-5 overall, 0-4 in the Big Ten, and have shown very little, if any, signs of life.
Their punter, take a look at the leading rusher for Wisconsin. Was their punter.
They got that going for them, which is nice.
Yeah, there's some drone footage outside of Madison this morning. Literally, buzzards were circling over the city. So we'll see how long Luke Fickell makes it from this point.
If someone's getting fired after I upload this episode, it's probably him.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a couple of contenders for that title, and we'll talk about that once we kind of go through the games here, who is on the hot seat and how hot that seat actually is. Fickell is certainly in that short list of maybe 3 or 4 guys who might not get to see November as a college football head coach. And we'll get to that shortly. One guy who's going to be a college football coach for a long time, and this time at the University of Indiana, that's Kirk Cignetti, who signed a $1 billion deal to stay on as the Hoosiers head coach, which is something I don't think any of us would have ever comprehended before the season started. Indiana hosts Michigan State. They struggle a little bit early, But kick it into an extra gear. They beat the Michigan State Spartans 38-13. Fernando Mendoza, 24 for 28, 332, 4 touchdowns. Is that your Heisman Trophy favorite?
Mm, not yet, but he's probably going to be a Cleveland Brown next year.
He might be.
Poor kid.
He's certainly in the conversation, and I never thought I'd say what I'm about to say, but I'm happy for Indiana. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they move quickly. They're doing all the right things. They're a new face at the top of the football league, and it's really added something having Signetti and his staff that's been with them forever. They're doing what they're doing. Really awesome.
They're one of the best stories in college football this year, easily. A team that up until this year you would consider pretty much a basketball school. Um,
Rightly
they
so,
had a
too.
brief run when Michael Penix was there a few years ago where they were fairly successful. But this team looks like a national title contender.
Until proven otherwise, you're absolutely right. They're looking squarely at a bye in the first round of the playoffs.
We're going to find out when they take on Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game here, it looks like.
Yeah, they're booking rooms in Indianapolis already.
Your number 4 team in the country, Texas A&M, they take on Arkansas in Fayetteville and walk away barely with the win, 45-42, surviving a furious Razorback comeback attempt. Uh, Good win
Is that
for A&M. They are the only team undefeated right now in SEC play. They're 7-0 overall, 4-0 in the SEC, believe it or not.
does that make you worried about them? Because Arkansas is not a good team.
Yeah, there should be some warning flags that probably came up there. The defense for A&M not really putting up a big fight. Uh, they've still got some tough games on their schedule. We'll find out if they're a contender or a pretender here fairly quickly, as the next couple games feet are a trip to LSU, a trip to Missouri, and they've got a trip to Texas still on the schedule. None
Scary.
of those are, yeah,
The
none
Notre
of those
Dame win is looking better and better. That's for sure.
Yeah, none of those 3 games there that I just mentioned are going to be easy. The other team that's going to be probably playing for an SEC title, the way that they look right now, I don't think anybody's able to beat them, but I could be wrong. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they host Tennessee on the third Saturday in October. Alabama with a win 37-20. They did enough to take care of business despite Tennessee putting up some pretty decent offensive numbers.
Breaking out the cigars.
Hmm.
It's, how good is the SEC though? Like there's a lot of their losses are against questionable teams. How much of their ranking is because the SEC is broadcast on ESPN and gets the ESPN, all of our voters are going to put you up regardless.
I think I think Marty, to answer your question, I think there are a lot of very good teams in the SEC. Outside of maybe Alabama, I don't know that there are any great teams in the SEC. They're deep and they've got a lot of good football teams there, but they don't have a whole lot of great, amazing football teams. We'll talk about one of the other teams that could face the Crimson Tide in the SEC championship game, the Georgia Bulldogs, pulling off a win at home against Ole Miss, 45-38 in a game that was, I don't want to call it highly offensive because that could be interpreted a couple different ways, but it was a game where nobody really stopped the other team's offense from moving down the field. There was one punt in the entire game.
Georgia's winning these games in a variety of ways. I mean, these are week to week. These are really strange developments. The Auburn game was weird. This game was really weird. But Georgia, I call it what I call, has the organizational savvy to know what to do in all these different situations. And when they needed a stop against Ole Miss, they got it. And Ole Miss couldn't get one on their side. I mean, the crowd, I don't know if you believe, believe this, but the crowd really made a difference there in the fourth quarter,
Oh yeah.
as I saw it.
I
They
just
did. Georgia, for their warts, they seemed to struggle in the first half of pretty much every game they're in, but they finished strong. 17-0 in the fourth quarter, they outscored Ole Miss.
I got to give Lane Kiffin some credit though. After calling a timeout, he walked back to the referee and said, "No, I was clapping," and then just patted him on the shoulder. Call back to last week's questionable fake timeout.
You can say what you will about Kiffin, lots of opinions on him, but yeah, the guy's got one heck of a sense of humor. He's not afraid to show it. Ole Miss was number 5 heading into the game. Georgia number 9 heading into the game. I suspect those positions may end up being swapped after this week. Another top 10 team going down. Texas Tech travels to Arizona State. They end up losing the game 26-22. Arizona State with the win. Texas Tech down from the ranks of the unbeaten, but they were out without their starting quarterback.
Another strange one. I kept seeing the score on there and flipped over in the fourth quarter. Sam Levitt was playing for Arizona State, which certainly helped. But another one, I flip it on, and Arizona State on their sideline, comfortably sitting there in the shade. Texas Tech with the Arizona sun beating on them the entire game on the other side. I mean, if they didn't get those 2 special teams gifts from Arizona State late, I mean, it would have been a very quiet loss without much fight on their side.
Yeah, it's not like they're not used to the heat, though. Geez,
Yeah, it's Lubbock is kind of in a little bit of a desert too.
it's the other side of that desert.
Very weird place to go to if you've ever been there. You just kind of fly over a whole bunch of nothingness,
And the stadium.
dirt and dust, and then all of a sudden up pops the city of Lubbock in the middle of nothing. Interesting place to watch a game. Got to work a game there many, many years ago. Other top 25 teams to talk about. Look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt takes down LSU in Nashville, 31-24. The Fighting Diego Pavias. They don't always make it pretty. They don't always you don't always look at them and say, "Oh my God, this is a dominant team," but all they do is win.
I don't know what they're going to look like after he's gone, but when Diego Pavia is there, they've got a chance to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't always been the case at Vanderbilt. So, I mean, what a story. Totally agree with you.
Man, that's just, I normally like LSU, but the sooner they get rid of that coach and the more he loses, the sooner it's going to happen.
You talk about hot.
So I can get back to liking that team.
Yeah, I don't know that Brian Kelly's on one of those nuclear hot seats that may melt this week, but look for him to be on that carousel at the end of the season.
Did you see him at Penn State?
No, absolutely not.
It'd be worth it just to make jokes for us on the podcast.
Yeah, because coaches like him don't go away; they just resurface in other places.
I just want to hear him fake like a Central PA accent and hear him saying "yuns" and talking about going Danny Sheets
while twirling around in a futuristically lit looking
standing on an oversized Lazy Susan.
Going on down the list here, the Battle of Utah, BYU and Utah.
That's the Holy War, sir.
The Holy War. BYU walking away with a win there and what was a pretty darn good game. BYU folks, they're undefeated, 7-0, 4-0 in the Big 12.
Oof.
This lived up to everything you would want in that game. Go ahead, Marty.
I just, their honor code doesn't allow for swearing, and I saw a sign during the game that says I freaking hate Utah, and I just couldn't stop laughing for like a whole offensive series when I saw that in the crowd.
Yeah, arguably that could be classified as a swear word.
Honor code violation. That kid's not going to show up to school Monday. He's going to transfer with their old quarterback. Go ahead, John.
Oh, no, for people who are pretty much east of the Mississippi centric, I mean, this is a really great rivalry and absolutely was one of the best games of the day yesterday. They really went after each other, and BYU is legit. They're going to be tough to beat in the Big 12. Although they have an interesting schedule coming up to deal
Tough
with after this
squad,
one.
tough squad, likable coach.
Yeah.
I like to see them go far.
Yeah, they could easily run the table in the Big 12, although I will say that they've got a couple of really tough games coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Next week, they are at Iowa State, and the week after, they're at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Mm.
Tough 3 games in a row. They were lucky to get this one as a W because those two may not go well.
Yeah, that'll
But
be.
we've seen their weakness now for Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm. Could be harbinger of who's going to be in the Big 12 championship game. Number 16, Missouri, they get the win in double overtime over Auburn, 23-17 in a game that just sounded like it was ugly as heck.
John Nelson's household is not a happy place this morning. Maybe, I don't know what he's going to be like when he makes it on the show today, but between Auburn and Florida State, it's he'll be chugging Mountain Dew with reckless abandon feeling.
Might have to hide all the sharp objects in the man cave.
Yes, keep him away from his wife. Auburn dropping to 3-4. Hugh Freeze, another coach who is probably making his way onto that hot seat.
We're gonna start calling him you defrost.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to put it. Texas holds on, barely beating Kentucky in Lexington, 16-13 in overtime. And I watched the end of that game. Kentucky made, let's just say Mark Stoops made an interesting decision in overtime. Kentucky with the ball, fourth down, less than a yard to go. They go for it. They try a weird play. It doesn't work. They don't score in overtime. Texas ends up going backwards a little bit, but they ended up getting a Will Shipley kick to get the win.
This was a very strange game. Kentucky had the ball for 40 minutes. Texas had 8 first downs. I don't know how Kentucky only got 13 points. Texas, most of their points came off after special teams plays. I'm not kidding when I'm about to say I really think that if they brought Arch Manning's grandfather off the couch and dropped him into that game, that he would have been more productive than his grandson. I mean, they were pathetic on offense. I realized they had just played Oklahoma, but Oklahoma went to South Carolina and won. So what an escape for Texas. They had no business winning this game at all. And that goal line stand there in overtime, boy, they should tiptoe out of Lexington and get before anything bad happens.
They might have to re-rank the Manning family. Cooper might not be the least talented one anymore.
No, I keep thinking that, well, Arch hasn't played that many games. Once it starts clicking for him, he'll be fine. He's played that many games now, and so far has shown absolutely no sign of getting any better.
If you can't run at Steve Sarkisian's offense and get something out of it, I mean that's a problem.
Almost everybody who has ever played for Sarkisian has put up huge numbers as a quarterback.
You think anybody in Texas is feels a little guilty running another quarterback off where they could have had Manning learn one more year and get it together a little better? He needs a little more time. I mean, he's not played everybody's seen that footage of his high school. He wasn't playing anywhere near this kind of competition, and sometimes you need time to develop. I know he's got a famous name, but
and that's true about college athletes. You can't really predict when it's going to kick in, when that light bulb goes off, and when they're going to become a great player, or if they're going to become a great player.
Yeah.
Because that transition's different for every single one of them when they're 18 years old.
Being famous and being talented are two different things, and people got to realize that. Diego Pavia, he's famous because he's talented. And
Yeah.
he was talented for a couple years before he was famous.
And all he does is win.
Yep.
Want to mention this game partially for a special shout out to UAB interim head coach Alex Mortensen, somebody that I got to cover when he was down here in the metro Atlanta area. He takes over for the fired Trent Dilfer, and UAB knocks off a previously undefeated Memphis team 31-24. Nice win for the Blazers. A team that's had all the potential in the world as a program over the years, but just never seems to have quite been able to get over the hump.
UAB and UCLA are at the top of the list of looking very smart for firing their head coaches.
Yes, indeed. Um, I'll give another shout out to a former Georgia Southern head coach, Willie Fritz, who's been around the NCAA at this point, coaching multiple different teams and winning everywhere he goes. His Houston Cougars take on Arizona. They get the 31-28 win. Houston now 6-1, 3-1 in the Big 12, and still has an outside shot at getting into that Big 12 championship game.
No reason for Houston to be bad with that recruiting base and playing in a major league. And good for them for getting it together.
And they keep making coaches look good and have them get hired away, but they just keep coming back up.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Northwestern. They go to 5-2 with a 19-0 win over Purdue. Clemson's tailspin continues as they lose to SMU and in Death Valley.
That was very happy in my household.
35-24 SMU with a win. Some other games of note, UNLV knocked from the ranks of the unbeaten, Boise State destroying them on the Smurf turf 56-31. Really, those are kind of your highlight games. I'll use this as kind of our ramp into the hot seat coaches list. Florida, under Coach Billy Napier, they did get the win, 23-21 over Mississippi State, but it took, let's just say it took a little bit of a miracle for them to come away with a win.
It's not often your nose tackle gets the interception to steal a game when the other team's in field goal range to win it.
I was going to say a interception by your nose tackle as your finale to seal the deal. Makai Boro intercepts Blake Shapen's pass with 21 seconds left as Mississippi State was driving for a field goal. I don't know what this changes at Florida. They are on a bye this week, so if they're going to make a move, this is probably the week that they make that move.
Hard to do after a win.
Yeah, but it's
going back to that touchdown. I really wanted to see like the speed track data on his return. Like, was it like 8 to 10 miles an hour? I mean, he was chugging. Nobody was going to tackle a dude that size. That would have taken like 3 people, but that was just great.
Big man running. Big man on the move.
Now you froze for a few seconds before talking about Florida. Did you talk about Penn State, Iowa at all? Or did you run through that score already?
We did not get into that one.
Okay. Save that one for later then.
We can talk about it now, actually, because we pretty much covered just about everything else that we wanted to. Iowa gets the win over Penn State, 25-24. Iowa quarterback Mark Gronowski, he runs for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That game, another one that was, it wasn't pretty, but Iowa gets the win. They go to 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Penn State now 3-4, 0-4 in the Big Ten.
Penn State almost did to Iowa what Iowa does to almost every other team. Like they blocked a field goal at the end of the first half and returned it for a touchdown. Usually Iowa does that. Penn State actually was in the lead most of the game, and they covered even. So they played well, but on a larger scale, my wife is really not happy about the way things have gone down at Penn State, primarily because this whole business that they deserve to win a national title or they're entitled to it, or like,
Nobody's entitled
or
to it.
if you don't win a national championship, you're out. I
Natty or
mean,
bust.
it just that it's absurd. When let's look in their own league what they have to deal with. They're going to be lucky going forward, whoever they hire, to be in the top three of the Big Ten. So if the standard is you win a national championship, you're out. They're in for a long, dark period there uh, at Penn State because it's just I don't see it happening, despite the resources they have, and they've, as I said last week, there's a darkness hanging over that place that, um, yep, that's still being dealt with and not very well.
Yeah, it's a good way
Starting to
put
look
it.
like Jim Knowles was not a great hire as a defensive coordinator. When it's your natty or bust year, that guy, he's a genius, but his
I
defense
don't.
takes more than a year to learn. And if this is your short window, that was a dumb move to get a defense that takes over a year to fully implement and expect some sort of big.
I don't know if that's necessarily the problem. They're not bad on defense. It's not like they're giving up 50 or 60 points in a game. The problem is they don't score any points. They had a great quarterback in Drew Aller, a guy who was super highly recruited and expected to be a top flight in NFL draft pick, and they never let him do anything. He couldn't throw the ball. They wouldn't let him throw the ball downfield. They wouldn't open up the offense for him. And I don't know if that's a statement on Aller or if it's a statement on the coaching.
Should have
But
spent the
you
money
can't
on
win if you
offensive
can't
coordinator,
score.
not a defensive one.
Now, just
3.5, I think.
the whole vibe around there that it, if your goal going into it is to win the national title and nothing else matters, so many things have to go right for that to happen. The whole situation was wound up so tight that it just when it started to unravel, it unraveled real fast.
We were going to talk a little bit about coaches on the hot seat and the coaching carousel. With Kurt Cignetti now off the board, not available after signing that long-term deal at Indiana, who ends up taking that job? You're not going to get a front line, a front. There aren't any big name coaches, I think, that would jump at that opportunity.
Especially if they're going to walk in there and if they go 10-2, they're a failure. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, do you want to grab a frontline guy? Because that's what they did last time, and what that didn't work out. What did
Got
Indiana
him.
do? They reached down and got somebody who's been successful in the past, but not at the big level. That's what they're going to have to go after, is somebody that's on a lower tier that's been successful, that knows how to win.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a rebuild ahead.
Well, spend your money on players and don't overpay coaches that are underqualified. I know we might get a bad email from Jim Knowles' sister, as she likes to do to anybody that speaks negative about her brother. But
And I don't think that was the issue at Penn State. They got to the point where they could talk about potentially competing for a national championship under Franklin. They just couldn't get over that hurdle.
yeah,
And anytime they had to play a game that was a game against a top five team, they folded like a house of cards.
there's big difference between talking about it and being about it. Like people were saying, but like nobody saw anything to make them say it. Penn State was saying that, and I'm not sure why other people repeated it.
And we talked about Billy Napier and the University of Florida there just a couple minutes ago. I think Napier survives the season, but I don't think he survives the off season.
I was gonna say, but let me double check my phone real quick.
His buyout's considerably less than Franklin's was. I believe it's either 20 or 30 million, which is still a lot of money, but not the 50 million that Penn State owes Franklin. And for a school like Florida, it's doable if they choose to do it. But I don't see what good it does for them at this point to dump Napier heading into the Georgia-Florida game at the end of the month, and then just mailing it in for the end of the season. They still have a chance of getting bowl eligible, and I think they can do that.
Now, if you're James Franklin, with success at Vanderbilt, if Auburn and Florida open up and both, if he's number one on their list, I don't live in the South, but do you think either one of those would be a good landing spot for him?
No.
Would
Okay.
either one of those want a coach that can't win a big game? Because that's why they currently have
Yeah.
openings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that he's any better than the coaches that they currently have. And that's the dilemma you have when you get really impatient and fire a head football coach and not have a plan in place for a succession plan in place. Um, you're talking about dumping a guy and getting somebody who's not as qualified or not as good. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
If
I
you
don't know if
know,
they have anybody in house that they want to get.
I don't think they do.
That's going to be a tough sell up there, too, in all
Mhm.
honesty.
It's going to be a very tough sell. Same problem. Auburn has the same problem. I mean, if you get rid of Hugh Freeze, and Auburn's not exactly known as a school that's patient with anybody, um, you dump Hugh Freeze, what do you turn to? I mean, the problem they've had is they just don't have the talent that everybody else does right now. They've got a couple of good individual football players, but they don't have the depth of talent. And Freeze, it just takes one coaching mistake when you don't have the talent the other team you're playing does, and you've lost the game. They don't seem to be any better than they were when he took over the job. And that's another place where if you can find an up and coming FCS or D2 coach who's really good at what they do, at building a program and taking it to the next level, that might be your guy.
Yeah, because right now it's a place where coaches go to die.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody top tier doesn't want that.
Yeah. I think another seat that you're going to have to kind of pay attention to in the SEC as the season goes on is at Kentucky. Mark Stoops, who's been there a very long time, he's the most tenured guy in the SEC right now. I think that program may have plateaued a couple of years ago and is on the way back down. And I would not be surprised if that job pops open either.
They just don't have the budget to pay players like the rest of their league.
Mm-hmm. And those are just a handful of the jobs, guys, that we think might pop open over the course of this season. Oh, one other that I got to mention, and that's, of course, Dabo Swinney at Clemson.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's another one. Clemson's kind of boxed in. I mean, it's going to cost them the moon, stars, and everything in between in order to buy out Dabo if they want to make him go away. But who do you hire to replace him?
Their only hope is if somebody like Penn State tries to get them.
And I don't think that's happening.
He's
trying
not
to be
a
on a
real
better side
natural
of that
fit up
bio.
in that part.
Yeah. I mean, you could easily say that the game's kind of passed Swinney by, just in the way he's been recruiting and trying to grow players at Clemson. He's got some guys with some talent, but they just don't seem to click well enough or be good enough to compete with some of the big time programs anymore.
He's
Yeah.
had the double problem. Well, three things happened. One, he got the big contract. Two, they won the national titles, and then there's a natural dip after that. Then how do you rebuild it? And then three, with the way the landscape in college football has changed, if he's not with that down with that program, it's easy to see why they've fallen behind. But you're right, there's not much Clemson can do about it, considering the first part of that scenario where they gave him the huge contract for a long period of time. So
I mean, it's never a good sign when
business.
your biggest tradition is running downhill.
That's been their tradition when
I'm
they've
just
won.
saying that the writing's on the wall. You start going downhill, and then the game just kind of follows that. I just love every time they frame that picture of him running out with the flag bearers, and they always try to frame him with the L in Clemson.
Oof.
Favorite picture in all of Twitterdom.
Guys, what do you say we wrap up the first half of the show? We've talked enough about games this past week and hot seats. Coming up in the second half of the show, we will look ahead at the upcoming week in college football and talk about everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget, All that and more when we return for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. Football. College football version here with the college football review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with two O's, but football with a U, Futbol, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android. Through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports. Do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here.
Welcome back, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the show. Guys, this is the part of the show where we talk about the upcoming week in college football. As we wind down the month of October, it's the point where we start seeing who's going to be contending for their conference championship and possibly a playoff berth, and who's going to be looking for a new coach in the upcoming season. Another full week of games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, along with the usual schedule of Saturday fun. Not really a whole lot of super exciting games early in the week. Do want to note Kennesaw State traveling to Florida International's Pitbull Stadium to take on FIU. And the only reason I bring it up is because Kennesaw State went from being 0-2 to being 4-2 and having a shot at winning Conference USA the way they're playing right now. I saw them listed in one of those sports website bottom 10 lists at the beginning of the season. They don't make it there anymore. And I would not be surprised if they continue their winning ways and get the win here at FIU. Other games of note early on, one ACC game, Cal traveling to Virginia Tech, California 5-2 on the season. Look for them to get the win in that game. And then we move into the big day of games on Saturday. I'll go down the list kind of in the order that they are on the schedule that I'm looking at because it makes it a lot easier to read it that way. Interesting matchup here. UCLA traveling to Bloomington, Indiana to take on Indiana. You're getting price for that game right now, $133 at Memorial Stadium.
Did a time been put on for that one yet? Or is it to be determined?
They don't have a time decided yet on that one. Expect that to come on Monday.
That might be worthy of the big noon.
Yeah, it could very well be worthy of it because those are two teams. Indiana, of course, we talked about early on, but UCLA's played a whole heck of a lot better since they got rid of Deshaun Foster as their head coach.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Neuheisel is actually not the coach. They show him on the sidelines instead of the coach, but he's not actually the coach.
He's not the head coach.
He's got a lot of the look of a young John Gruden when they flash over to him every 15 seconds. But it would be interesting with Washington didn't do particularly well playing a 9:00 game at Michigan, and I don't know how well UCLA would do either. The West Coast teams will have to figure out some mechanism to play those big noon games. That's a tough deal for them.
Yeah, it's what they wanted.
Yeah.
And sometimes be careful what you ask for. You just might get it, and it
Get
may not
cleared.
be what you
They're
think it
good.
is. Um,
Speaking of travel, quickly from the Friday night game, I mean, I don't know what Cal is going to do trying to get from Berkeley to Blacksburg for a Friday game. How that all is going to work, but that's a tough travel deal too on a short week. But sorry, go
Planes,
ahead.
trains, and automobiles.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a flight into Roanoke Airport, and then it's about a 30-45 minute drive from Roanoke to Blacksburg. So that's going to be how they get there. It's not that difficult. Roanoke's got a decent sized airport, and I can say that having worked games at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg before. Interesting place. Highly recommended if you've never been to a game there. Some other games with to be determined times on them. This matchup really intrigues me. Missouri traveling to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Two teams on the rise in the SEC, and two teams this could kind of sort out their standing right now in the SEC.
it's one of the games of the day, but totally under the radar. Totally agree
Mhm.
with you on that.
Non-traditional SEC powers.
Yes. Uh, Marty, I'll take non-traditional SEC powers for 1,000, please.
Although, any loss to another SEC team is always a quality loss.
Uh, Moving on down the list, Ole Miss coming off of that Georgia game has to travel to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. I like Ole Miss in this game, but if they've
Mm,
got a bit of a hangover from the Georgia game, Oklahoma could jump up and bite them real quickly.
I think Oklahoma is going to bite them. It's going to be near miss number 2, 2 weeks in a row.
Hmm.
Oklahoma's defense against Ole Miss offense, that's worth a watch on its own.
Yes, indeed it is. Um, Moving on down the list, the Battle of Kansas. Kansas State traveling to David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. A noon kickoff. Interesting battle. Kansas have neither team really doing a whole lot this year, but any interstate rivalry game is a good game to go see.
Can't add much to that one. Totally agree.
Sadly, that's all you can say about it.
Yeah, disappointing seasons for both so far. So this game will mean a lot.
Some
No
other
titles, but pride on the line.
And really not a whole lot of other super exciting games on the list here. I will mention your 7:30 primetime game on ABC, Texas A&M traveling to Death Valley to take on a wounded LSU Tiger team. Your thoughts on that one?
Dangerous game for Texas A&M. They played a tough schedule, especially on the road.
And
Uh,
they're coming up against an angry team.
yeah, if LSU's defense might be able to win that game for them uh, at home. Tricky game for A&M.
Yeah, LSU's going to need the crowd to help them because their coach sure isn't.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers were expected to be national championship contenders this season with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. Nussmeier has been kind of on the level, almost, I wouldn't say quite on the Arch Manning level, but he's been a huge disappointment. Has not played very well. The LSU offense as a whole not playing very well. The defense is always tough. I like A&M in this game, but I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't think either team's really going to be able to open things up. Look for A&M to get the win. Look for the heat level to rise on Brian Kelly's seat. Probably going, I would say, from at least super supercharged jalapeno to possibly ghost pepper.
Oof.
Should they lose this game?
Is it going to be hot enough for him to adopt his Southern accent again in the post-game press conference?
I don't know.
It's disappeared for a little while.
The Cajun spices are going to get on that seat and make it super uncomfortable for him if they do not win this game. Um,
I've got one for you.
What you
That might
got?
be it might be an entertaining watch. That Illinois at Washington. That doesn't have. There's not a time on that game yet, but Illinois, I don't think is going to be able to stop them at all. especially out there in Seattle. And if Illinois goes with the no huddle like that they did against Ohio State, there could be a real shootout out there and a
Yeah,
meaningful game in the league. So
Washington's definitely underrated.
yeah,
Mhm.
they're really good.
Yeah.
Damon Williams is really good. So, geez, just for people looking for a game to watch without a rooting interest or it might be entertaining, that's one.
Another interstate rivalry game, the Battle of Michigan, Michigan at Michigan State, game that pretty much isn't going to mean a whole heck of a lot in the Big Ten this year, but always interesting because it's a rivalry game, guys.
Oh, that's
Michigan
a
has a chance. I mean, I don't like their chances against Ohio State, but if somehow they win out, they've got a decent chance to be in the playoff.
Don't see them winning out at this point, but you never know.
Yep.
They haven't exactly lit things up over the course of the season. They are 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. They've got a few people to pass before they get to that point, and they finish up really the only, well, I wouldn't say the only game. Their trip to Northwestern's probably not going to be as easy as it would have been if you had talked about it before the season. Northwestern 5-2 on the year. But the game against Ohio State, net, I would not be surprised if that's their third or possibly even fourth loss on the season.
man, they're not different when they don't cheat. It was almost like there's this 3-year window where they did really good. Wonder what they're doing different.
Yeah.
Huh.
I wonder. Questions to ponder. Speaking of questions to ponder, it's time now, guys, for everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget. It's the part where we talk about going to a college football game for the price roughly of your favorite soft drink, or not so soft drink, depending on your perspective.
Fancy coffee.
Games that you wouldn't normally get to see, and a chance to go see college football in a venue that you wouldn't normally think about going to. We'll start off with some games on Friday. North Texas traveling to Charlotte to take on that game at Jerry Richardson Stadium in Charlotte. You're getting price for that game on ESPN2, $6.
Dang. And that's not just because North Texas has I'm going to get a pension from them when I retire. They've been on a roll. They put out their bowl eligible tweet in a month. They've never ever put that out. Usually it's the last week of the year for the season that they become bowl eligible, and they're bowl eligible now. That
Good on
coach
them.
is doing great things there with
I'll,
no
I'll
money.
throw in also that you can take in that game Friday night and then stick around for the Buffalo Bills at the Panthers on Sunday and make a whole weekend out of it.
I like it. Definitely like it. The other game, one of the other games on that Friday night, we talked about it briefly a minute ago. Cal at Virginia Tech. You're getting price at Lane Stadium, guys, $7.
That's absolutely worth going to.
Highly recommend a trip to Blacksburg if you've never been, if for no other reason, just to hear the Virginia Tech Hokies run out to enter Sandman.
Yeah, it's worth it just for the intro. You can go back tailgating after that.
It is if you've not been inside of that stadium, it is a pretty cool stadium to go watch a football game. It's kind of unique the way it's carved into the hill there in Blacksburg. And also that press box hangs out precariously over the field, it seems like, if you've ever been up into it.
Don't sit in the front row.
Some other games to mention as we go down the list here. Rutgers traveling to Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana to take on Purdue. You're getting price for that game, $9.
That is the worst stadium I've ever been to in the Big Ten.
Enough said.
That is a horrible game, but West Lafayette can be very fun. So that's the decision to be made there.
When you go into the men's room and you can't tell the difference between the trough urinals and the trough sink, that's a stadium to avoid.
Yeah, interesting challenge, and somehow I suspect that it's Both have been used for both.
That's a safe bet.
Very safe bet. Moving on down the list, University of Louisiana Monroe traveling to Hattiesburg to take on Southern Miss. 3:30 kickoff. Your get-in price for that game, $9.
Yeah, why not? That sounds like a decent way to spend an afternoon this time of year.
Nothing
Should be
like
reasonable.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi on a cool fall afternoon,
Hmm.
Ooh.
or so the saying goes. Um, Also, a 3:30 kickoff. Temple traveling to Tulsa to take on the Golden Hurricane at Chapman Stadium. You're getting priced there. Also, that one also $7.
That one,
Only for the reason I got family on Temple.
Okay, that would be a good reason
yeah.
for those of
Oh,
us without.
it's cheap to follow my family.
Apparently, it is. um, if you're into going to Tulsa, then it's worth it. But I don't really see an encouraging reason to go there, even with a $7 game. So
Yeah, you could take the Tulsa King tour, which will probably cost more than the game ticket, but
Oof.
you'll get
the
some good
Tulsa,
pictures.
the Tulsa King tour for a show that's taped in Atlanta, even though it's Tulsa.
Hey, all the beauty shots were taken there.
Oh boy. Um, oh, check this one out, guys. Stanford traveling to Miami to take on the Hurricanes at Hard Rock Stadium. You're getting price for that game right now, guys, $11.
That's above our $10 limit. And after seeing all the fights breaking out between Miami fans after the game,
I had to mention it though, just for the fact that you're still talking about Miami, a team that's probably going to, even with a loss this week, be in the top 10. And they're one of the lower priced games on the board.
that is just sad. Keep your stadium on campus.
On or
if you're
next to.
if you're going to incorporate that game into a larger weekend in uh, Fort Lauderdale or something like that, why
Yeah.
not? But
Don't say going to a Dolphin game because really that's more painful than going to a Miami game. And I
yes,
say
Yeah.
that as a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan.
Hurricanes may beat the Dolphins. And I'm going to go on the limbs. I know we're a college podcast, but I think the loser of today's Browns Dolphins game, I think that's an NWA loser leaves town match where the coach doesn't survive.
Could be. It very much could be. I'm going to mention a couple of games that just slightly go over that $10 thing, only because we got a few more to talk about. Um, North Carolina State at Pitt, 3:30 kickoff at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. You're getting price for that one, guys, $11.
Have they trying to think how far Pamelli Brothers is from that stadium.
It's worth it going to
It's
Permanente.
worth it for a sandwich.
Yeah, go there, get a Permanente Brothers sandwich, go take in the game. It's a chance to see Pittsburgh, which is an interesting town from what I hear. Why
See
not?
the Andy Warhol Museum.
I'm in for that one.
Pittsburgh is a very cool city. They've got a good freshman quarterback who just dismantled Syracuse here last night. And fall colors, my wife just drove through there. Fantastic right now. Definitely go to that Pitt game.
Yeah, I'm with that. And I think that concludes the college football on a budget segment. But before we go, I want to give a couple shout outs. The big one having to go to Curry College running back Monty Quinn. And the reason we shout out Mr. Quinn is because he broke the NCAA record for rushing in a game by running for 522 yards on 20 carries for 7 touchdowns as Curry College beat Nichols 71-27 on Saturday.
Spicy curry. Nice.
Mm-hmm. That is one
That's,
hell of an accomplishment.
Get
that was
that
probably
guy.
football on a budget too. That's a lot of entertainment for a good price.
Will that running back still be there next year?
Probably, unless he ends up somewhere in Division One.
Somebody needs to throw some money at somebody who can run like that.
Another nugget here I want to mention. We talked about the University of Miami and they're playing their games at Hard Rock Stadium. Should the Hurricanes make it to the college football playoff, they're going to have a little bit of a potential scheduling conflict because there is a soccer game planned for the same day that if they were to be hosting a first round home game in the playoff, which could create a bit of a scheduling conflict. One of the other is going to have to move to a different location, and my suspicion is that it might be the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they can't fill that stadium.
Yeah,
When
the
you're
easy
ranked
way
number
out of
2
that
and you
is-
can't even get like a third of the stadium full.
yeah, easy way out of that is just to make sure Miami doesn't get a first round bye or a home game.
I was gonna say, move them to a high school stadium. Maybe they can fill that up. I'm sorry, that's just pitiful.
Yeah, but it's strangely enough sounds very Miami. Guys, I'm out of news nuggets and things left unsaid. You got anything else before we wrap things up here?
Just leave your guess in the comments for which coach gets fired as soon as we post this.
Yep.
It just also shows week to week how chaotic college football is, which is ultimately one of the reasons it's so interesting. Next week, the landscape could completely change in a number of different places, and so cool to monitor it throughout the week.
It's kind of what happens when you depend on a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old kids to make your living or measure your success or lack of success, because as much as you'd like to think that they're professionals and they play like professionals and they're
Get paid
always
like
great at their
professionals.
job, the fact remains it's a 19 or a 20-year-old kid and nothing about them or what they do is going to be consistent from week to week.
Amen.
And with that, I will say, get off my lawn. For Brother Marty, for Brother Sly Fox, have a great week, everybody, and we will be back again for you next week.
Please like and subscribe. And pray for John Nelson.